Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's explainer, where we're going to look at the terrifying reality of what our doorbell cameras actually capture when the sun goes down. We install these things to protect our packages, get a little peace of mind, right? But the footage we're analyzing today, it proves that sometimes these cameras catch things you literally couldn't even begin to imagine. We're talking shadowy figures, unexplainable phenomena, and absolute nightmares that'll make you think twice before you ever check who's outside in the dark. So I want you to put yourself directly into the shoes of the homeowners we're talking about today. Just imagine it for a second. It's 4 a.m., the house is dead silent. Suddenly your phone buzzes on the nightstand. It's a motion alert from your front porch. You roll over, you're kind of half asleep, and you open the app. But instead of a stray cat or, the wind blowing a branch, there is something deeply unsettling staring right back at you from the darkness. What do you even do? Because for the people in our source material, this wasn't just some hypothetical question. It was a terrifying reality. Let's start by looking at some of the bizarre, totally unhinged human behavior caught on tape. The sources show this rapid succession of, unwelcome visitors dressed in costumes that cross the line from a simple prank into visceral nightmare territory. We've got a figure with long, messy hair and bloodshot eyes looking exactly like that creepy Momo legend, lifting these unnaturally long fingers to the lens. Then there's a person in a creepy bunny costume ringing the doorbell, pointing to a free hug sign around their neck. No, thank you. Another homeowner captured a totally silent porch clown just staring into the camera until the kids inside literally started screaming. We also have a life-size doll man, oversized, terrifying head, pressing his unblinking eyes right into the glass. And finally, a figure in a full alien costume just standing motionless in the dead of night. What really makes these so chilling is the total lack of context. Are they just messing around, or is it a lure to get you to open the door? But here's the thing, sometimes you don't even need a costume to create absolute horror. 180, that is exactly how many consecutive minutes an identified man in California spent licking a doorbell camera. Yep, you heard that right. 3 straight hours. In the absolute dead of night, while the unsuspecting homeowners were fast asleep inside, this man stood on their porch, violating their privacy in the most bizarre, inexplicable way possible. Luckily, the police were able to identify him, but it really forces us to ask, what in the world goes through someone's mind to do something like that while the rest of the world is sleeping? Part 1. The uncanny and twisted. Things are about to get deeply unnatural here. Take this one piece of footage from the sources. It features what looks like an old man wandering onto a porch. He's talking to someone who isn't there, and then he looks directly into the lens with this wide, totally unnatural grin. He asks, "How's that, doctor?" and just starts laughing. But then, and this is where it gets crazy, as he turns his head, it looks like there's a second face on the back of his head. His neck just keeps rotating further and further, twisting backward endlessly. It's this silent performance that literally makes you question if what you're looking at is even a person at all. And this brilliantly illustrates a psychological concept known as the uncanny valley. Basically, it's that unsettling, pit-in-your-stomach feeling you get when something appears almost human, but is just slightly off. And our sources are absolutely full of this. Take the footage of a figure crawling low to the ground behind parked cars on all fours, completely bent backward, like its body just wasn't meant to move that way, before suddenly standing up perfectly normal. Or the woman at 4 a.m. with these wide, unhinged, lifeless eyes, slowly shaking her head and pressing her face to the glass to peer inside. These visuals trigger our deepest primal fears, right? Because our brains recognize the shape of a human, but the behavior is screaming at us that something is terribly, terribly wrong. Part 2. Too close for comfort. Now we're moving into actual physical danger. We have this agonizing timeline captured on a woman's Ring camera. It's late at night, and a group of masked men approaches her door. At minute 0, she thinks it's just a prank, right? So she calls out through the speaker, "Happy Halloween." But they don't leave. For 6 agonizing minutes, these masked intruders stay on her porch. At 2 minutes, they're trying the handle. At 4 minutes, they're relentlessly testing the lock. By minute 6, they are just waiting for the perfect moment to force their way in. She quickly realized her assumption of a Halloween prank was a potentially deadly mistake, and she hid, just praying the door would hold. Thankfully it did, but man, the psychological scar of that 6-minute invasion, that definitely remains. And this brings us to a really fascinating comparison of the types of threats captured on these cameras. On one side, we have the heart-stopping, narrow escape. Picture this. A mother and son walk into their house, and literally 1 second after the door clicks locked, a man rushes the door, pulling violently at the handle before finally lingering and walking away. 1 second slower, and they are face-to-face with an attacker. Wow. Then on the other side, we have prolonged psychological terror. A woman's camera revealed a silent stalker standing outside her apartment, completely still every single night for almost a month. Whether it's a split-second rush or a month-long silent vigil, these cameras act as a terrifying mirror, showing us exactly how vulnerable we really are. Part 3. Supernatural or just glitches, where the laws of physics basically just stop working. Here we have 3 completely impossible phenomena caught on tape. First, in India, a dog walks into the frame and, right before our eyes, appears to morph seamlessly into a human figure. Seriously. In another clip, a homeowner who feeds local foxes captures one stopping its meal to just walk straight through a solid, gapless wooden fence. Phase 3 achieved. And then in Phoenix, Arizona, a camera records a neighbor floating effortlessly in midair, levitating with absolutely no visible support or strings. In all these cases, the laws of gravity and solid matter just seem to completely break down right in front of us. Now, whenever footage like the morphing dog or the levitating neighbor surfaces, viewer reactions split right down the middle. Skeptics, well, they rely on logical glitches. They'll argue it's clever editing, digital artifacts, maybe just weird tricks of the light. On the flip side, the believers see dark theories. They look at these videos and see evidence of skinwalkers, ghosts, cryptids, maybe even dimensional portals. The cameras give us the raw data, sure, but they don't actually give us the answers. They leave us to project our own beliefs onto these crazy anomalies. Part 4. Double check your locks. We are entering the most terrifying unresolved entities out there. So in 2021, a street camera recorded a dark, shifting mass appearing on the road, but it wasn't walking. It was dragging itself forward across the asphalt using its hands in this terrifyingly low crawl. The shape itself was super unclear, just a dark, shifting anomaly moving with this eerie purpose. And right before anyone could even figure out what they were looking at, the footage abruptly cuts out. It's that total lack of resolution that makes this one so incredibly unnerving. Then we have the midnight horror of the wall walker. A skeptical homeowner woke up for a glass of water, checked his camera, and watched a solid figure walk across his porch. It was solid enough to completely block out the porch light as it passed. But then, without breaking stride, the figure phased seamlessly right through a solid brick wall. I mean, even the most hardened skeptic has a hard time explaining away a shadow that somehow blocks light but ignores solid brick. And perhaps even more unsettling is the footage of a young child just casually walking down the street in the middle of the day. As the camera records, the child simply begins to fade. His body becomes less and less visible until he disappears into thin air entirely, leaving the street completely empty. It's footage like this that actually makes you sit back and question the very nature of our own reality. But sometimes the terror isn't just visual, it's audio. A TikToker named Felicia was out on her porch casually throwing a toy for her dog. The footage seems completely normal until you listen to the audio playback. Out of nowhere, this faint, disembodied whisper says, "Get out." Even her dog heard it, immediately going crazy and barking at the empty air. So the crucial point is this. Your camera isn't just watching the dark, it's listening to it. And sometimes unseen threats are standing right next to you, close enough to whisper. We've looked at the pranksters, the uncanny horrors, the genuine physical threats, and the totally unexplainable anomalies. This footage absolutely proves that our front doors are a very, very thin boundary between the safety of our homes and the absolute unknown. I want to leave you with this final, chilling thought. Later tonight, when you hear a faint noise outside, who is standing out there right now? Make sure you double-check your locks tonight because, as we've seen, some mysteries are still waiting in the dark.